So chat, I was scrolling through Twitter, I think it was yesterday. Yes, at the time of this stream, it was yesterday that this tweet went out. I follow the Humanist Report, great content creator, by the way. Highly recommend giving them a look if you're into, left-wing politics, that sort of thing. But anyway, the Humanist Report tweeted this out. And it kind of caught my attention. Oh my fucking God, Eric Adams was not ready to face Olay. He was trembling towards the end of the interview. Whoever agreed to this interview on his team is getting fired, laughing my ass off. Most devastating interview with a politician I've ever seen. Oh shit, oh shit. Now, if you're not familiar with Olay, Olay is someone that I've actually talked about very briefly on this channel before. Olay used to be a co-host of the Leftist Mafia. And some of you guys may remember when we covered the Illuminati situation, they used to do the Leftist Mafia podcast with Illuminati. And so I was kind of critical of the Leftist Mafia and Olay as part of that podcast for their initial seemingly support of Illuminati. Obviously, they changed their mind on that once more information came out. And, respect to them, they were willing to actually see, how things developed as time went on with that situation. And they were like, yeah, she's done some really fucked up things and we disavow. So good on them. But I was kind of critical of them at the time. And I got to be honest, I think I was a little bit harsh on them, more specifically Olay, because I've seen, admittedly, this isn't one of those where like I'm watching for the first time with you guys. I pre-watched this and holy shit, Olay like rips this guy a new one. If you're not familiar with who Eric Adams is the mayor of New York. And admittedly, I don't live in New York, so I'm not super familiar with, a lot of the things that they struggle with in New York. But I will say that like this conversation is insane. Absolutely insane. Like she destroyed him on so many levels. So I thought we would take a look at this. Basically, the two of them were on The Breakfast Club, which is kind of like a hip hop radio show. I've watched it quite a bit. I like to watch, oftentimes they'll have various different hip hop artists on to do interviews and stuff like that. So I watch this from time to time. But they had Mayor Eric Adams on and Olay, and they kind of had a bit of a debate on the show. And it was interesting to say the least. So we're going to check that out. We're going to give our thoughts on it as we go along. So without further ado,
play that shit.
Here we go.
Wake that ass up early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Yep, and we got a special guest in the building today, ladies and gentlemen, the mayor,
Eric
of New York
Adams
City,
here.
Eric Adams.
And we also have lawyer and political commentator Olurin here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor. What's
How
happening?
you feeling, man?
Like I said, I know Olay from when she was on the Leftist Mafia. I didn't know them anything, in regards to anything else outside of that. I do know, if I remember correctly, was it them that not too long ago they did a podcast or like a video where they were interviewing iDubbbz? I think it was them, if I remember correctly. I could be misremembering that, but in any case.
Good. Even before we get into the conversation, I was with Jordan the other day, my son, and somehow your name came up. Mm-hmm. And there was a group of young people in the room talking about politics. It's amazing how so many people are into politics now. And
I will say that I remember, like, when I was younger, for example, like very, very few people were interested in politics. Like, politics was one of those things that like most people didn't want to talk about. They just kind of kept it to themselves. But it seems like in recent times, people are a lot more vocal on political issues, which I actually think is a good thing in a lot of ways. But yeah.
They came up with saying something about, there were people saying that how you were trying to push Trump. So Jordan pulled up this video, one of your shows, where you broke down each time you were talking about what was wrong about his race.
Absolutely.
And just broke it down piece by piece. And Jordan said, Dad, you know what? Truth doesn't matter anymore with folks. People don't care about truth.
Nobody cares about the truth.
They don't care about facts. Facts no longer exist.
I've never pushed Trump. I actually do the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's kind of crazy to me that like he says that he's hearing that like Charlemagne was pro. I don't think I've ever heard Charlemagne say anything even remotely pro-Trump.
We are in a generation where everyone gets up in the morning, look on social media, and whatever's on there, identified as the facts.
The headlines.
Exactly. No one goes into the body.
I mean, it is true. There's so many things on social media that like people will get clip chimped in an interview to make it seem like they're saying something they're not. It happens to like social media influencers as well. People will misrepresent something they say. Maybe they said something in relation to like a grander topic, but they'll take this little piece that they can take out of context to make it seem like they're saying something that they're not, or, you know, misrepresent it in a malicious way. These are things that happen all the fucking time. So I will say that he's not wrong about that.
Of the story. Everybody's just, well, you know what? This is what the headline said, and that's the reality of it. And so it was like an eye opener for him.
I think what's interesting about this, and we'll go over this a little bit after we react to this actual debate or interview or whatever you want to call it. But he's talking about like people will see what's in a headline and they'll just take that as like fact, and oftentimes like it's misrepresented and stuff. They do the same thing to Olay after this interview. And I've seen somebody in the chat say the video is a little bit low. I'll go ahead and crank it up a little bit. But like they do the same thing to Olay. And you'll see that in a second. But let's continue.
How I said Jordan for
By the way, let me know if the audio is better, chat.
over again. That one moment took away all those years of me saying, have your own facts. Don't let anybody define for you. You define for yourself.
That's right.
You know, and that's the power of this microphone. That's the power of media. Putting those facts out. If we don't control the message will control us.
We got a lot to talk about.
Fozzie says, we talked about that in sociology, the misrepresentation of statistics and headlines. Yeah, true. It happens all the time.
A lot.
Your city. So
Yes.
Today we reported earlier about congestion pricing, right?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that? I think it's gonna cripple New York City. You got a lot of people. The bridges already, the tolls already high. It's $17, I think, for George Washington, $11 for the Midtown tunnels. Parking is extremely high, and now getting into the city, it's gonna hurt a lot of people to even drive in the city, and people are scared of the subways. You know, with everything been going on, people getting pushed into the train stations, crime, and people are scared of New York City.
That's a lot. Let's unpack. Let's do the first one
Right,
first.
right, right,
So
right,
what's
right,
the
right.
congestion
You've been
pricing
holding on to a
happening?
lot.
I have.
You've been holding on to a lot. So, but let's break it down for a moment. Let's break it down in pieces so we can really understand it. First, let's deal with the stuff about people are scared of the subways. When I became mayor, no one wanted to be on the subway. We got over 4 million daily riders. I was talking to one of my guys. I was talking to a sister the other day, and she said, "You know, we have about 200-300 crimes happening on the subway system. We have 6 felonies a day on our subway system out of 4 million riders. Look at those numbers. Our subway system is a safe system, and we put in additional 1,000 officers to do the high visibility to deal with the reality, because safety is not only felt, it's perceived. So if those 6 felonies, we got to get rid of. We're clear on that. But people are back on our subway system. But when you deal with specifically congestion prices, a lot of people don't realize these are the city streets, but we had no authority on it. Albany passed the law and turned it over to the MTA. This is the MTA's baby. They should have allowed the city to be able to control how congestion pricing was done. So that $15, we were able to fight to get $100 million to deal with.
So he just wants to like pass the buck and say that this isn't my problem. This is MTA's problem. Is that kind of what he's doing here? Why are you mad at me? It's not my fault.
Environmental impact in the Bronx. We were able to fight to get those who are shift workers to get a discount, those who make less than $50,000 to get a discount. But this was a bill that came out of Albany.
So you don't agree with it, or do you agree with it?
No, I agree we got to deal with something with the congestion in our city, but you don't pass on the cost of that on low-income New Yorkers or those who have to come to Manhattan. You may have to have go into your chemotherapy, and this is the doctor you have to go to. You should not be hit over the head because of
people that live in the area. They're saying that people that actually live in the area, when they drive, if they got to drive uptown to the doctor or they got to drive, they get charged too.
But I'm not feeling people that live in the area. Central Manhattan, south of 60th Street, has the best transportation system on the globe. You got crosstown trains, you have south and north trains, you have buses that go across town. There's no place else on the globe that you have the greatest access to public transportation than people south of 60th Street. So I'm not feeling them. If they're saying that, we don't want to pay, you know what, you need to get on the train. I take the train, so you can get on the train. I'm talking about low-income New Yorkers should not have to carry the burden of that. And we ask to have more and a greater input and the shaping of that, but we don't. people don't often realize we're creatures of Albany. Albany passed the laws. We have to implement the laws that are down here.
Would you get on the subway?
Olayemi?
Yeah, I think you're right that there is a difference between perception and fact and how people feel about safety and the way people feel about the subways. And I think it's your own rhetoric about the subways that has a lot to do with why people feel
Here she goes, Chad. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. She goes in so hard, and like we're only like 5 minutes into this thing, and I kid you not, as soon as she starts pressing him, he starts shivering and he starts stuttering and he tries to like it's the funniest shit ever. I have never seen someone during an interview be as intimidated as this guy becomes when Olay starts grilling him.
scared, despite the fact that millions of people ride the subway every day without incident. But you've continued to fearmonger about crime in the subways. You've added 2,000 police officers, despite the fact that you've acknowledged that the subways are not that dangerous. And I think you're right. And poor New Yorkers should not be the ones who bear the brunt of this, but they will if they already have the subway being turned into a place that they have to fear, that there's a National Guard, that there's a hyper visibility of police, that they're trying to stop people with certain records from even using them, and now you have this congestion price. So how do you?
Yeah, I feel like the extended police presence, or like the increased police presence, rather. I feel like in some ways that would make people feel less safe, right? Like if you're seeing like a ton of police in the subway, number one, like you start to question like, well, why does there need to be that many police? What the hell is going on down here that we need so many police here? Especially when, as he said before, you know, when you compare the number of people that go through the subways to the number of crimes that are actually committed, it's extremely low. So like, why would you need to have that many police present to address such a low amount of crime? But not only that, but we're talking about like minorities who often have very negative experiences with police. So like, you're taking groups of people who often experience negative experiences with police, and you're surrounding them with police officers that they're already intimidated by. How do you expect people to feel safe in the subway when that's the experience that you're presenting to them? Right? Like it seems extremely counterproductive to what he claims he's trying to do.
You reconcile that?
Well, let's go before. First of all, I would love to give me.
Thank you, Chasing Dopamine,
because I'm lost on that. Can you give me the quote?
Oh, that you fearmonger about the subways?
Yeah,
you've consistently done that since the day one of your administration. One of the first things you did was add 1,000 officers to the subway because you claimed that the subways are unrideable. You and Hochul did this and said how dangerous it is, and you recently did that when you deployed the National Guard.
Sister, but that wasn't my question, Queen. My question was,
he's already stumbling. He's so scared.
Fear mongering. What did I say?
You continuously say, I could point to a number of videos and quotes and everything from you, but you've said repeatedly that the subways are dangerous, that New York is dangerous. You complain about crime relentlessly. So what I'm saying to you is, if you are saying that New York is the safest city, it's one of the safest big cities in this country, which is true, and you're recognizing that the subway stations are in fact not half as dangerous as they're presented to be, I'm saying, how do you reconcile how your rhetoric has played into people's fear?
Okay.
And not even just rhetoric, I would say the actions, because she's right. If you tell us
which is different, different.
But it's the same thing, though. If you put 1,000 police officers in the subway, 2,000 police officers in the subway, that don't make us feel safe. We think something's wrong if you're doing that.
Exactly. Like it's the perception of like, why do you need so many police down here? It's counterproductive. If his goal is to make people feel safe in the subway, it's like a balancing act, right? Like if you're putting a large police presence down there, people are going to start thinking, well, maybe there's a reason that this many police needs to be down here. Maybe it's a dangerous place, and that's why they need to have so many police around. It's counterproductive. Not to mention, if what he says is true, that there aren't that many crimes committed there anyway, talk about a waste of like, you know, tax dollars, putting a bunch of police down there that don't even need to be there to begin with. Jeez.
And let me peel back again, because you got to always peel back this stuff, you know, because oftentimes how you're depicted in the media that I don't control is how people interpret you. I didn't put the National Guards in the subway. The governor did.
I know, but I know what you said.
But you said, Eric.
You stood with Governor Kathy Hochul and you co-signed that decision. You did, and I'm not saying this.
So he tried to like dodge, like, well, I wasn't the one that made the call to put them down there, but yeah, you agreed with the governor's decision to put them down there. So like. What?
Was following social media. I'm saying that as an attorney in the city and an activist who follows everything that you do.
Do you have the video on speed increase? No, I don't. That's just like the rate at which she's speaking normally.
Yeah, if you, I'm glad you do. But then you'll realize how I turned the city around. If you follow everything I do, you'll realize
I would say no, but we could get to that next.
Loosen up your tie, man, Adams. Yeah, it's gonna be a long day.
Listen,
Look at Charlemagne's loving this shit. He sees dudes stressing out. He's getting a little bit sweaty and stuff like that. And Charlemagne is loving this shit.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
You act like a little bitch right now.
I enjoy every moment
That's right,
of it.
that's right.
You know, because this is what I do.
Right.
You know, when you come with a serious history, if you follow everything I do, you know how long I've been doing this, and you know what my record is. So let's peel back what you just stated.
I fucking hate everyone.
When fear is perceived and felt, that's what fear is. So no matter, as I shared, that we have 6 felony crimes a day with 4 million riders, if people feel unsafe, when we get in the subway system, I ride the subway system.
If you're having a minimum of like 6 felonies a day, why do you need thousands of police officers down there, though? That's taxpayer dollars that are being used to pay for those positions to be down there and do what? Just stand around or whatever? Like, that's a waste of taxpayer dollars to put a bunch of police officers in the subway that don't even need to be there. He himself is admitting that, like, there isn't enough crime to justify that, so why do it? And if it has the opposite effect of making people feel less safe, then it's pointless. It doesn't accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, my guy.
To commuters, and I say, what are you feeling and how do I help you with that fear? They say, Eric, we see more visible uniforms.
Chainsaw in the chat says, looking for homeless people to tussle with, to be honest. Yeah, true. Just go around harassing homeless people.
Officers in our subway system, we're gonna feel safer. We got it. Oh, let me. Can I peel
You can talk. You can peel it back.
So we got it. That
He's so intimidated by her.
Oh shit! Oh
She's got him so scared.
numbers are down. We got it that we're back on the subway system post COVID. But when we see, this is what the public is saying. When we see the visible presence of a uniformed officer, we feel safer. Now, you may say, Eric, I don't want to see a visible presence of a uniformed officer. And that's cool. But that's not what the overwhelming number of New Yorkers are saying.
And I'm saying to you, the New York City comptroller, Brad Lander, recently put out a report finding that 50% of the city is disappointed and does not feel safe based on your rhetoric about the subways and your over-police presence.
Okay, but sister, first of all, that's not what it says based on Eric's rhetoric. That's not, you keep using.
No.
They didn't say, did they say based on Eric's rhetoric?
Do you want to talk about based on your specific?
No, sister, I'm going back to what you said to the attorney.
They
You deal with
have.
facts. Did they say based on Eric's rhetoric?
They have. The city is, they have multiple.
He's so sweaty. Yeah, he really is. He's terrified right now.
Reports in New York Times, the Gothamist, the city comptroller, and the Federal Monitor who reports
This is awesome.
who's tasked with making sure that NYPD and Rikers are in compliance with the law have both submitted reports saying that since you became mayor, there's been a return of stop and frisk, that there have been over 15,000 stops, 97% of whom have been on Black and Hispanic people. A fourth of those stops and searches have been unconstitutional.
He's trying to argue with somebody who's a defense attorney, by the way. Yeah, she was a DA, and he's like trying to argue with her on things like crime and shit like that. Like, don't you think she would know this? Come on, my guy.
And they've yielded very few results.
Now, let's peel it back. Eric Adams, 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, testified in federal court that the federal court judge stated, based on Eric's testimony, we are going to rule against the police department. We were dealing with 1 million stops a year when I was with 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement.
She probably knows the law better than he does. I mean, yeah, she like literally practices it like through the course of her profession. So abso-fucking-lutely.
My advocacy,
or at the very least, if she doesn't understand something like on the spot, she has the credentials and the knowledge of how to get the answers for those things. You know what I mean? So absolutely.
What turned it around from that 1 million stops a year? Look at the numbers right now.
I am looking at the numbers.
My advocacy and showing how to do.
We're less than 10 minutes in, and I think it already justifies using this.
You are coping and seething.
He's coping and seething.
Just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping
Oh, man.
seething. The truth it is scalding, and now you are mauling and coping.
Oh, God. This is funny.
Coping so hard.
She has ground knowledge, first-hand knowledge. He only has second-hand knowledge that could be altered. Yeah, true.
Correctly, because it's not that you want to eradicate.
Oh, we got it again.
You just can't
NJ Trash Boy didn't have enough. Needed more.
Coping and seething. and now you are modeling and coping so hard.
Coping and seething.
I fucking hate everyone.
But police practices, you must make sure they do them right. And that is what I have been able to accomplish in this city. Taking over 13,000 guns off the streets of the city of New York, who the victims are black and brown people. When I go to community meetings and talk to community residents, they don't tell me, Eric, we don't want more police. They say, Eric, we want our police doing their jobs correctly. And that is what I'm doing.
The federal monitor, who is tasked with ensuring that NYPD is following the law, conducted an analysis.
Came under who?
Conducted an analysis that happened 8 years ago, but they're still here monitoring what you're doing. And they said that you have brought back stop and frisk policies that are worse than they saw even during the Bloomberg era. But more importantly, they analyzed the neighborhood safety.
Show me that.
I could show you the report is available, and I know it's been available to you because your spokesperson has commented on it. They did an analysis of over 10 precincts,
you can't keep putting out
10
stuff
different
that's not
precincts.
factual,
That is
sister.
factual. There's a federal monitor reporting to Judge T. Swain on it and presenting the information. They said that, yes, listen, let me finish so you can peel it back. They conducted an analysis of 10 different precincts.
She's like, don't you talk over me. You don't know what you fucking with, homie.
You can shut the fuck up, bitch.
Damn.
And of the stops of 10 different precincts, they found that 97% of them, by the way, of the neighborhood safety teams that were disbanded in 2020 because of their disproportionate abuse against Black and Hispanic people that you revived, they analyzed 10 of those different neighborhood safety teams and found that they're conducting 97% of their.
Someone in the chat says, wish she interrupted me. Oh, God. What the fuck?
Stop being horny.
Stop being horny, goddammit.
Stops on Black and brown people, and a quarter of them are unconstitutional. That's what the federal monitor
I think
said.
I saw somebody in chat earlier. I think it was Jess Yo Mama saying that she wanted to be stepped on by Olay. God, you guys are such coomers.
Not me.
Yeah, and at the same time, let's be clear on this, because what you're giving the perception of, this is a federal monitor.
Well, just letting you know, if you happen to watch this, Olay, you have some fans in my chat. Okay, in case you didn't know that, I'm just letting you know right now, you have some serious fans in my chat.
Stop being horny.
Fucking simp.
That came in long before I was mayor. Can
Yes,
we agree on that?
yes, they
Okay, that's
monitor-
number one.
Trying to go say what it says, what do you expect from us? You know what? Fair. That's fair.
The
Number-
NYPD, not you specifically.
Number two,
You're
right,
the mayor.
Right. Number two, I have been the mayor for 2 years and 3 months. We've had a tradition of over policing for generations.
And they said it's worse now that you're here.
That I fought for. We had issues of.
They have an issue of over-policing. And so let's send thousands of police officers into the subway that don't need to be there because there's only a very, very small number of crimes being committed. Like, that doesn't help, that doesn't help your cause, my dude. What? Did you guys hear that? Let me run that one back real quick, because holy shit. Did he think that one through before he said that?
To be clear on this, because what you're giving the perception of, this is a federal monitor that came in long before I was mayor. Can we agree on that?
Yes, they
Okay, that's
monitor
number one.
NYPD, not you specifically.
Number two,
You're
right,
the mayor.
Right. Number two, I have been the mayor for 2 years and 3 months. We've had a tradition of over policing for generations.
Thank you.
And they said it's worse now that you're here.
That I fought for. we had issues of over policing for generations that I fought.
So they had issues with over policing, so he fought for more over policing? The fuck?
Nice argument. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
True. Fucking true.
We acknowledge what my history is in this place. So 2 years and 3 months, we are turning
Tipster's a
around
good
not
dude.
only over policing,
True.
but we're turning around the crime. Because when I came to this city, we had a 40% increase in crime, and most of that crime, Black and brown communities.
You
Black and brown
became
communities.
mayor after a global pandemic in which there was record unemployment, business loss, homelessness, and you're
Exactly.
not drawing that connection to
Exactly.
it. You're making no. But what I'm saying is crime is connected to what is happening in the city and the experiences of people. This is the most expensive city in the world. We had a global pandemic where businesses closed and people were out
Exactly.
of work. So if you
And
saw
now they
crime,
bad.
it was
Now they
connected
bad.
to that.
High-
But you're
highest
saying
level of
also
private sector
Yeah,
job.
they often like to take these situations that like have an impact on things like crime, and they just like to disregard them and pretend like they don't exist. You know, when people live in poverty, the unfortunate reality is that you'll see an uptick in crime because these are people that are unemployed, they're struggling to make ends meet and stuff like that. And unfortunately, some of these people resort to crime in order to get by and survive, right? And so you can't just ignore the fact that like, hey, we just went through a global pandemic where like people lost their jobs and businesses went under. There's record unemployment and shit like that as a result of that. That's going to contribute to an increase in crime. So you can't just be like, oh, you know, since I took over, we've seen a decrease in crime, and then ignore the fact that there was a world impacting sort of like situation that took place that could potentially have an impact on, you know, an increase in crime. Like, you can't pretend like that doesn't exist and then take credit for something that probably didn't have anything to do with you.
Jobs, come on.
Also, you're saying that you've turned it around, NYPD's abuses, but just last year, we paid out $150 million in settling police misconduct from NYPD, and that was double the number. That's double the number in police misconduct since you became mayor.
I noticed something. I noticed how much passion and commitment you have.
It's one of your constituents.
Yeah, and I'm one of my constituents too now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I grew up in the city. I noticed, and this is what I hear often of those who articulate when a person in a blue uniform commits an inappropriate act. Balance that with what we're doing to take the violence out of our communities. Because I know what I hear when I go to these community meetings. I know what I hear when I go speak to these mothers who lost their children to violence. I know what I hear. You're not even talking about that at all.
You know, first of all, I was a public defender.
New Yorkers don't feel safe.
But that's what you said. That's what you said.
And my original question was about how you relate to that.
You said that New Yorkers don't feel safe.
Yeah. Now he's like trying to ignore her. He realizes he's not getting anywhere with her. So now let me focus my attention away from you because you're giving me too much of a hard time. Let me just focus on Charlemagne here. Like, maybe I can relate to him a little bit more. Like, holy shit.
So
he's so intimidated by her.
Right. And in that poll that came out by the CBC, it stated that the priorities of Mayor Adams is moving the city in the right direction. Mm-hmm. My priority. Now remember, 2 years, 3 months, brother. 2 years, 3 months. I inherited a pandemic. I inherited 180,000 migrants in the
So now he wants to acknowledge the pandemic.
That we have to house them every day. I inherited.
You called for a lot of them too, though.
No, we didn't, brother.
You said it was a sanctuary city. You told them.
Okay, let's see. That's why it's important. That's why it's important to have this conversation, because sanctuary city and the migrants and asylum seekers are two different issues. Sanctuary city, if you're undocumented, we can't turn you over to ICE or authority. Mm-hmm. Migrants and asylum seekers were paroled into here. They're here legally. They were paroled into. But what the federal government did, and Governor Abbott did, they said,
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We're going to send them up to Chicago, New York, Boston. And the federal government is saying, Eric, you can't allow them to work. You got to give them housing. You can't stop the buses from coming in. You cannot turn them over to ICE. All of that is illegal. If I do that, we're breaking law. Mm-hmm. So when people look at the migrants that are here, we didn't call people to come here. They were sent here by Governor Abbott. And the failure to secure our borders is allowing this to continue. And we're not getting any money from. We got about $100 million out of a $4 billion price tag. Look at Chicago right now. Look what's happening in Chicago right now. My brother, Mayor Johnson over there, what's happening with him. Look what's happening in Boston. Look what's happening in Houston, Los Angeles. And then do a comparative analysis of what's happening on our streets here. Wow, we dealt with that crisis, turned around our economy, outpacing the state in reading and math of our young people. I've been on Rikers Island more than any mayor in the history.
This is like the biggest like political speak of like, let me just hype myself up to make myself look good. Not really, address the questions that I'm being asked here. Let me just like, run down my checklist of talking points that I think make me look good. So I don't actually, have to address anything you're asking me about. Jeez.
The city, talking with inmates and correction officers to turn around what's happening on Rikers Island.
I know you go to Rikers in 2022 and there were 3 deaths back to back because corrections officers left their posts and allowed it to happen. You went to Rikers to express your support for the correction officers.
Everything he says that he tries to present as a positive for himself, she is able to flip it around and say, well, like, this is why this thing you're saying is a good thing is a bad thing. It's so funny.
Sir, I know you go to Rikers.
No,
What I do want you to do, Mayor Adams.
But you keep giving out misinformation.
It's not misinformation, Mayor Adams. I'm quoting the monitor.
I was on Rikers Island this week. With a group of 12 young brothers who recommitted themselves to Christ. I went to see them in the morning. We prayed together because they said this is not the first time you've been here. You've been here over and over, visiting us, talking to us, nurturing us, because I know what it's like to be locked up because I was locked up as a child.
I know you were.
So I know what it's like to be treated unfairly because I'm dyslexic. When you do an analysis of the number of young brothers and sisters who are in Rikers or in jail, they're dealing with learning disabilities because they were never given the support that they have. That's why I have dyslexia screening, so we can catch people who are thrown overboard before they get thrown overboard. So we have a philosophical disagreement.
I'm glad that you brought up Rikers.
Your feelings towards police is different from mine.
These are not this is not about my feelings to police. This is about the actual statistics that I presented.
But don't you think, as somebody who represents the people in the city, that you should probably be listening to the concerns of people like Olay? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a good idea to listen to those people and the concerns that they have so that you can make better decisions when determining what's good for the city, right? Like, why just completely disregard it because it makes you uncomfortable that this person disagrees with you? It's kind of insane.
The federal monitor monitoring what you do.
What do you say about her statistics, though? 'Cause, I mean, these are statistics.
These are federal monitor. Are you disputing with the federal monitor and the comptroller?
Think about this for a moment. Controller Brad Lander. Okay, please. If we're going to throw people in names on who we're independent sources, he should not be one of them. Think about this federal monitor.
The one that was independently elected by the people of New York, placed there?
But I was independently elected also.
And we've been there, and I'm addressing you.
So think about this for a moment. The federal monitor wants to take over Rikers, okay? Rikers has been dysfunctional for generations. I came in, decreased violence, put in real incentive programs for young people there, but I didn't do it.
Did he say control the? Did he say that? I don't think I heard that. Did he say that? Hold on, let me see. Let me run it back a little bit and see.
I mean, these are statistics.
These are federal monitor. Are you disputing with the federal monitor and the comptroller?
Think about this for a moment. Controller Brad Lander. Okay, please. If we're going to throw people in names on who we're independent sources, he should not be one of them. Think about this federal monitor.
The one that was independently elected by the people of New York, placed there?
But I was independently elected also.
And we've been there, and I'm addressing you.
So think about this.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he said. That would have been funny, but yeah, I don't think that's what happened.
One moment. The federal monitor wants to take over Rikers, okay? Rikers has been dysfunctional for generations. I came in, decreased violence, put in real incentive programs for young people there, but I didn't do it from a distance. I went to Rikers and walked the halls and talked with inmates. We're doing workshops and support groups with inmates and find out, what do you need to be here? We instituted real turnaround programs there with the sisters that's now in the correction officer.
This just sounds like typical PR speak stuff. Let me talk about all the things I've done that I think are good things and then just be my own personal hype man. That's all this sounds like. She adds context when is needed. She is so professional. Yeah, she's really good at this sort of thing. I have to be honest. I know I said this earlier, but I have to say it again. I apologize to Olay because I sincerely misjudged her during the whole Illuminati thing. I get it, Illuminati was a friend of theirs and you always want to look out for your friend or whatever, and it's not always easy to accept that someone you associate with might be a shitty person, but credit where credit is due. As more information came out, they obviously saw that some of the criticism that Illuminati was getting was valid, and they disavowed her actions, which I think is good. But yeah, I have to apologize. I was severely I misjudged Olay when I covered that, because this is fucking awesome. Round of applause to her. Round of a fucking applause. This is an insane performance here. He's just so he's sweating.
Commission of Corrections there.
Tips, you're always able.
I didn't do like other mayors.
Oh, sorry, didn't pause. Tips, you're always able to admit when you're wrong and be better. That's why I love being your admin. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I didn't sit back and say, let me just turn my back on what's Rikers. I said to those Rikers inmates when I got elected, I'm coming here. I'm going to see what you're going through. I want to make sure you leave here better than how you got here in the first place. And we started instituting programs to do so. So that same federal monitor, go look at the federal prisons. That federal monitor wanted to take over our prisons after I had it only 2 years and 3 months. No, they wanted to take over my first year, although crime was going.
Look, he's literally, he's trying so hard now to pretend like she doesn't exist. Look at, he's not even looking in her direction anymore. He's just like, I'm gonna focus on Charlemagne here because this woman scares me. All right, I am terrified of this woman. I don't want to deal with her. I'm just gonna pretend like she doesn't exist anymore. Holy shit.
Violence was going down, and people say, "Well, Eric, people are dying on Rikers. Look at how they died. People are coming into Rikers in terrible medical conditions
and not getting their medical appointments.
It's not that they were dying because correction officers were killing them. People were coming in with heart problems, drug problems. They were overdosing on drugs.
When will people in Rikers start to feel that? Because I know I got people that are in Rikers right now serving time, and they hate it. They think it's disgusting. They're trying to raise awareness to it.
Who likes shells, brother? Who likes shells?
See how he's literally like, she's trying to like say something. He's just ignoring her. He wants nothing to do with her. Fucking hell.
Fundamentally, the things that you were saying is untrue. You actually cut $17 million that were used for classes for people at Rikers to re-enter society. Those were cut.
Damn.
Those were cut under your. Those were cut.
You see, he doesn't even want to look at her. He doesn't even want to look at her.
Under your administration.
We were spending millions of dollars.
Look at him.
31 people have died at Rikers since Eric Adams became mayor.
Look at him. For these professional folks to do these programs, reentry programs, millions of dollars, 7 people sitting inside the class.
This is too funny.
When I came into office,
Transco J, he straight up ignored. He literally is. She's over here speaking, saying her piece, and he's just like pretending like she's a ghost, like she doesn't exist. Holy fuck. Him, cut education to the prison system. Yeah, jeez.
Wait a minute, why are we spending so much money on programs, but our people are still in these bad conditions? People have profitized poverty. They're making so much money off of black and brown people because it's a lucrative business to come up with all these different programs, all these different ways. And then when you go to them and say, let me see the results of the programs that we're paying you millions of dollars for. And then you look and see, well, who's in charge of these programs? They don't look like us.
Moments ago, you said you instituted programs. And when I brought up the fact that you actually cut programs, now you're anti-program. Okay, 31 at least.
True. It's another fucking cope. She called him out. He tried to like hype himself up. Like, look at all these great things I'm doing for people in the prison system. Right. And she's like, no, actually, you cut all these programs. You're not bringing in more programs to support these people and rehabilitate these people. You cut all these programs. And all of a sudden, he's just like, well, let me change my tune on that one. Come on. She literally caught him.
Nice argument. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
That was funny.
We got some good programs.
At least 31 people have died at Rikers since you became mayor. That's why they're pushing for a receivership.
Fatherless No More program. Fatherless No More. This was the brother, the pastor. Fatherless No More is called the program. And I would encourage you to come and check it out. This brother here, instead of saying, pay me millions of dollars to do a program to turn around the lives of our young brothers in Rikers.
Ifazi in the chat said, wait, he's boasting about putting programs into place, but he actually cut them. Yes, that is exactly what happened. Holy shit.
He doesn't want money. He's committed to the cause. But you have these professional programs that were in place. And when I went to them and said, show me the results of what you've done in these programs. Show me what we produce for our millions of dollars. As in many of these programs in the city that I'm saying, we're no longer paying y'all to just play us year after year. So Fatherless No More is turning around the lives of people, not being paid millions of dollars for it. If we're really true to what we say we want to do, why do we have to pay you millions of dollars to do it? You know, why don't you come on Rikers like I do and volunteer? Why don't you come and really be committed? Because people are not committed to us, brother. They've been playing us. You know, this is a street hustle that have been
So then he just like straight up lied about instituting all these programs to help rehabilitate people in the prison system. And then when he got called out on it, then he started justifying the reasons why he actually cut those programs instead of instating them, the way he tried to lie, he literally lied.
What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude.
They would show you if you don't cut them. Jeez.
Going on for years, and people have eaten off of the dysfunctionality of watching us stay in these permanent states of being.
A lot of people are upset too, and they feel like the prison reform is bad for New York City. They're saying people do crimes, they get out immediately, and then they commit the crimes. We just seen an officer that passed away a couple of days ago. Rest in peace to him, and always healing energy to his family. But they say that individual was arrested for a gun and has a record the size of we don't know what. And they're saying that people are doing crimes and they're getting back out. Officers don't want to arrest people. A lot of officers don't even want to be officers anymore because the people that they're arresting get out so fast. So what do you say to that?
And brother, let me tell you something. I say this term all the time. Idealism collides with realism. Mm-hmm. This far leftist mindset that believes we should not have a criminal justice system in place, we're going to look like some of these other cities that you're seeing with a lack of a criminal justice system in place. We're losing correction officers. We're losing district attorneys. We're losing police officers. We're losing probation officers. We're losing school safety agents. Every piece of our public safety apparatus that the everyday working class person wants, we're seeing it all of a sudden erode. And we're going to lose the foundation of our prosperity, and that's public safety. So when you look at these cases, we have three problems in this.
Yeah, exactly. Far leftist mindset. Nobody believes that. They just want the system we have fixed. Yeah, pretty much. Like, people want, you know, an opportunity for people who like have committed a crime. They want them to be able to be rehabilitated and be reintegrated into society. As you know, E. Fozzie's saying, the lack of care with reintegration is what can cause reoffending. Yeah, so we want these people to not just be, you know, punished for like a crime that they've committed. We want them to be able to be rehabilitated and reintegrated into society so that they can actually be a positive contributing member of society. That's what people want, okay? They don't just want, like, let's throw, you know, millions and billions of dollars into like a prison system to just lock people up and then they get out and then they reoffend again. You know, that's what people are asking for.
City that if you dig into it, you'll see how they continue to intersection between each other.
What are they?
We have a recidivist.
Is in prison rehabilitation. That's the idea of what it should be, but like, the execution of what we currently have, it doesn't exactly work that way. Essentially, you're just housing criminals. Like, you're not actually making an effort to rehabilitate them and reintegrate them into society. And that's what people want to see change.
This problem.
This is not true.
It's a revolving door. 38 people that assaulted transit workers were arrested 1,100 times. 545 people that were arrested for shoplifting were arrested 7,500 times.
So what you're describing right there sounds like a good reason to invest in those programs that you cut that could be used to rehabilitate these people and reintegrate them into society, right? That makes sense to me.
The person who shot that police officer, his driver was just arrested for having a gun in April of last year. Now he's back doing the same thing all over again. These guys are arrested 10, 15 times. It's a small population of people that are repeated offenders. The second problem that we have in the city is a severe.
Look at, he's doing it again. He's trying to ignore her. He's looking at, you know, Charlemagne, and I forget the other host's name off the top of my head right now. If somebody knows, let me know in the chat, because I'm just forgetting. But he's focusing on like them, but he's like trying really hard to ignore her because she's the one that's really pushing him really hard.
A mental health problem. I'm not talking about just somebody.
Exactly, as Takashi in the chat says, thus we need programs to rehabilitate. Exactly. It wouldn't be as bad if they actually cared about rehabilitation instead of just locking motherfuckers up and throwing away the key. Yeah, pretty much, Trans Girl Jade.
That's depressed, someone that's going through a bad day. I'm talking about a severe mental health problem. Go look at these cases of assaulting passengers, pushing people on the subway track. The cat that pushed the person on the subway track the other day, in and out of the system. And so when I came into office, I said, we can't keep just walking by these people that are dealing with severe mental health issues. We need to give them wraparound services and care. The far left pushed against me.
Oh my gosh.
You inhumane. You just want to take people off the streets. I said no. In this city, people are not going to live in encampments. They're gonna live in tents. Go look at Los Angeles. Go look at Oregon. Go look at all these other cities where you see tent cities, San Francisco. You see tent cities. People, when I went out in January and February when I got elected in 2022, I went out without my security team and started visiting people in
this is just a deflection. It's just like, look at these other cities and look at these other problems that they have, you know, based on unique circumstances to them. We're not as bad as them, so therefore I should be praised because my city's not as bad as them. It doesn't mean that your city doesn't have problems that need to be addressed, though. You can't just deflect and say, we're not like those cities, so, you know, hooray for me. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean?
and encampments and started talking to them. Bipolar, schizophrenic, human waste, drug paraphernalia, stale food. They didn't even realize they were in that state. One cat was an ex-police officer that I spoke with, didn't even realize, started seeing and talking to himself. I said, I'm not going to do this. My city's not going to be like San Francisco. It's not going to be like these other cities where you're watching people living on streets in tents and tents. You don't see that in New York City. Third problem we have is random acts of violence. Those random acts of violence are being highlighted. If you have 24 hours in a day and something that happens to you in an hour in a day, you start to define yourself as that entire day. Those random acts of violence are plastered on social media. They're plastered on
the NYPD Twitter page.
They're plastered on everything. People begin to believe that, I'm living in a city that's out of control. We are not.
She made a good point.
Transgo Jay says LA, San Diego, and other bigger cities have tent cities because of the high cost of living, not because of the prison systems. Yeah, exactly. Like, as somebody who lives in California, like, I know how fucking expensive it is to live here. You know, like, people like to talk about like the American dream, how like home ownership is like the thing that everybody wants to do. And it's so difficult to own a home in a place like California because the cost of living is so insane. Like, you can't get by unless you like live in a dual income type situation. Like, for example, like, you know, I'm married, you know, so like, in order to get by under normal circumstances, you'd have to have a situation where like my wife is working and I'm working and we make just enough to get by. Like, that's what most people and most families, that's what life is like in, you know, an expensive place to live like California. You mentioned, you know, LA, San Diego, San Francisco, all of these places. Like, that's what it's like. That's the reality that we live in. You know, you're going to have a high homeless population when it's so fucking expensive to survive in these places. Like, you can't compare the experiences of those places to where you live because the circumstances are different. You know, it's just a deflection. That's really all it is. We're not as bad as these places, so hooray for me. That's literally what it is.
New York, if NYPD is reposting that kind of stuff, what are we supposed to think?
No.
I said at the beginning.
Everybody got a phone, brother.
No. NYPD's page is doing this. Has recently been there, so much so that they're arguing with journalists on there. It's NYPD on their own Twitter pages that are posting and sensationalizing crime. And I said this at the beginning. You said that.
But yeah, that's why you see like so many people who have like either, you know, it's a dual income family, or you have like a lot of like roommate type situations, right? Where you have people who, there's a lot of people nowadays that like they're grown adults and they live with a roommate or they live with several roommates because it's just so hard to get by nowadays that you have to do what you have to do to get by. It's sad, but that's kind of the reality that we live in. Like, I hate living in California because of how expensive it is. And I've always talked about, like, if I ever found myself in a situation where I got the opportunity to leave California for somewhere that's more reasonable in terms of cost of living, I would absolutely do that. But like, geez, man, it's so fucking expensive to live really anywhere nowadays. Obviously, a place like California, you know, it's really bad. But it's pretty much everybody is struggling with the cost of living at the moment.
The difference between perception and reality, how people feel afraid versus how safe New York actually is. And I agree with you, but I said that it's your own rhetoric and NYPD's rhetoric that plays into that. And you did it just now, because the reality is a condition of release for everybody, for every crime, whether it be non-bail eligible or bail eligible, is that if you commit a crime and you're rearrested, that you bail can and will be set on you. So that's the first thing. Second of all, they have conducted multiple studies, but the Brennan Center literally just put out one. Less than 2% of anybody in New York City that's released on bail is rearrested for any violation violent crime. More importantly, in
I'm
the
not
same
talking about
in the
bail.
same breath that
I'm
we
not talking
want
about
in the
bail.
same breath that you want to sensationalize, we want to highlight and point out, an officer was killed the other day, which is a rare occurrence across the United States, but let alone in New York. New York police officers have killed at least 7 people this year, including a 19-year-old. An NYPD officer killed a 19-year-old in Queens yesterday.
I'm not going to dismiss the loss of a life of an innocent person that wears a uniform to protect us.
But you do, of the 31 people dead at Rikers and the 19-year-old killed yesterday.
I feel like I don't want to take you out of context, and I don't want people to all of a sudden criticize that you're being dismissive of a young man being shot
Mayor
and
Adams,
killed.
that's not going to work on me.
I'm not trying to work anything on you. I lost.
Okay, keep that in mind. Remember how he said he doesn't want her to be taken out of context or anything like that? Remember that, because we're going to take a look at some tweets and some headlines and shit like that later. Anyway, let's continue.
Member of the police department, the same way I go to see the mother of an 11-month-old baby that was shot in the head when I first became mayor. I sat in a hospital with her. The same way I go visit these mothers who lose their children to gun violence. I go see them.
Yes, but not the mothers of the people who are
She's digging into him so hard. Yeah, she's digging into him so hard, and he's getting so desperate that he's trying to misrepresent something she said, trying to make it seem like she's trying to invalidate the loss of life of a law enforcement officer, and it's just that's not what's happening here. She's just saying, like, yeah, that life's important, but so are these ones as well. Why are you, downplaying, what happened to these people, right? That's what's going on. But he's so desperate to find a way to kind of wiggle out of this that he's gonna like misrepresent what she's saying about this, police officer who lost his life.
Just as I go to see the family member of a slain police officer, I go visit those parents that lose their loved ones to violence.
Are you visiting the family of the?
You do that?
First of all, yes, I did. I held a Riker. I represented hundreds.
You went to visit the family member of a slain officer?
No, not the slain officer.
Okay, of course you did.
But what about the 19-year-old that was killed yesterday by NYPD in Queens when he called for help? Have you said anything about that? Are you visiting them?
Exactly. Aziz Fawzi in the chat says she isn't dismissing or invalidating. She's bringing up what he is ignoring. Exactly.
Yeah. First of all,
is New York safer or not, Mayor?
I'm sorry.
Is New York safer or not?
Okay. We just showed the graph that we put up, right? There's a graph that shows how many people murders based on 100,000 people. It shows a graph, each city, the large cities in America. New York is the least. New York is the safest big city in America.
Should we say crime is down, or should we say it's safe? Because I think it's a
No,
difference
crime
between
is
saying
down,
crime
brother,
is
and
down and
safe.
saying something is safe.
And say, well, random's
Like if I'm 330 pounds and I lose 30, I'm still fat.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
But random acts that's why.
That's an interesting way to put it.
What I must do with New Yorkers is give them the facts, not give them what people are spewing out there. The facts are clear, as I've always stated. We are the safest big city in America. And as people talk about reporting the reports that come out and reporting how things are done, no one wants to report the fact that everyone is saying across the globe, New York is the safest big city in America.
Are we trending the right way, Olayemi?
I think that New York, I don't dispute that New York is safe. What I dispute is how Mayor Adams' own rhetoric is the reason why people don't feel safe. I agree that New Yorkers don't feel safe because of the way that NYPD, the Post, and Mayor Adams go about sensationalizing crime, and I'm asking you to talk about it differently.
Okay. And listen, and you have a right to your opinion and your belief. You and I have a philosophical disagreement. As many.
It's not about the philosophical disagreement.
Many people on the far left disagree with me. Many people on the far left, they say, Eric, people should be allowed to sleep on the streets. No matter what, they should be allowed to sit on your stoop and inject themselves with drugs. They should be allowed to go in stores and steal whatever they want. They shouldn't have to pay on the subway system. They should be allowed to carry a gun and be able to come out the next day. Like, people disagree with me all the time.
Earlier, you asked me to point out the rhetoric. Earlier, you asked me to point out specifically what you say to fairmonger about crime. So I just would like to say, Exhibit A, like what you literally just said.
Yo, true. She said that he fearmongers about crime, and he's literally doing it right now. Right the fuck now.
You continue to say in this that New York is the safest big city, while simultaneously you are the one sensationalizing the crime.
I point out facts.
Which is a fact? Is it safe or is it not?
All I know is when I came in office and I stated that I wanted to I'm not allowing people to sleep in tents on our streets. They're going to get the care that they deserve. the far left attacked me.
No, we
I know when
attacked
I
you because you
stated that-
you made it so that people could be
when I stated
involuntarily
that
committed.
People, yes, listen, if I'm sitting down with you, brother, and I'm in a tent with you or an encampment, and I'm seeing human waste in the corner, I'm seeing stale food, I'm seeing drug paraphernalia, and I'm hearing you talking about you only here until the spaceship comes to take you to your next planet. You need to be involuntarily committed.
Didn't I just say about sensationalized kinds of
No,
stories?
this is what I
That's
saw.
when that happened.
This is
He's literally proving her point. Oh my God.
what I
you
saw.
did?
This
Yeah.
is what I saw.
How did this man get elected? He's such a clown.
You were
When
there?
when
because
I
the
went
activists
around
that were
the
actually
city.
there at the encampments you had torn down, you
the
weren't there,
activists.
but they were there when they were being arrested.
People are also upset that they feel like too much money's going to migrants and you're cutting too many programs, right? They're saying you're cutting the pre-K funding.
170 million in
They're
pre-K
saying that
funding.
you're cutting so many different funding for
Love
other
that.
people.
Love this question, brother. Love
So,
this
so
question.
people,
let's-
so people are feeling like, you know, they never have money for.
Do you think he loves this question because he thinks it's a good question? Or do you think he loves this question because he's not asking it as aggressively as Olay when she asks a question? I'd like to know what you in the chat think.
us? But as soon as migrants come in the country, they find money.
And listen, people have a right to be angry. You know who's even more angry than they are? I am. I've been to Washington 10 times. 10 times to talk about this subject. So people got a right to be pissed off of what they're doing to New York
How
City.
can we fix that where these, like, I mean, we cut a lot of programs.
170 million
one day
in
we
pre-K
But hold on, let's talk about that. Let's
one
talk
day
about that
kids
for-
couldn't go to school because migrants took over the school.
No,
one
that's
day.
not. That wasn't accurate.
Okay, break it down.
Let's first deal with that. We always utilize our school buildings during the time of crisis. And if we're saying to ourselves, if there's some amazing, when we had the major fire when I first became mayor, and we saw that fire in the Bronx,
yeah.
you know, we had to take a school to take care of those people who lived in the building temporarily. When we have major storms, we take.
Why is an elected official on a random podcast? This is not a random podcast. This is a big radio show. This is like huge. Okay, this isn't like some random YouTuber podcast or something like that. The Breakfast Club is a show that I'm pretty sure this is broadcast like nationwide. This is a big show. This isn't like some random podcast.
Take a school to use it temporarily. Schools is part of the resources of the city, and thank God we had something called remote learning, where young people are still able to go on to learn. But
You
we can't
oppose
say
remote learning.
we can't say that we will.
Wait. What did she say there? Hold on. I have to hear that.
We take a school to use it temporarily. Schools is part of the resources of the city, and thank God we had something called remote learning, where young people are still able to go on to learn. But
You
we
oppose
can't say
remote
we
learning.
can't say we
Yeah.
can't.
Wait. So hold on. So he is hyping up the fact that, like, hey, you know, we had remote learning and that's a good thing. And she points out that he opposed remote learning. He's actually basically using something as, like, again, a talking point to kind of hype himself up when he opposed it. Are you kidding me?
Say that we will use the school building during an emergency, but we're not going to do it for children that are migrants and asylum seekers.
You publicly oppose remote learning.
Trans Girl Jade in the chat says, according to this, New York City is only the 12th safest big city in the country. San Diego is the 6th. Irvine is the 1st. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Let me see if I could see what you're seeing. Hold on a second. Is there just like a breakdown somewhere where I can easily like pull that up, or? Oh, here we go. Is this it here? Oh, they want me to pay a subscription? I'm not paying a damn subscription. What the fuck? Safest cities in the U.S. Safest large cities. So we got Irvine, which isn't too far from where I live. Henderson, Nevada. Virginia Beach, Virginia, Honolulu, Hawaii, El Paso, Texas, San Diego, California, Mesa, Arizona, San Jose, California, Riverside, California, Arlington, Texas, Anaheim, California. New York City is number 12. So he's literally like hyping up New York City as the safest big city in the country. They're number 12, which is still, to be fair, is pretty good, but number 12. Boston, Massachusetts, Omaha, Nebraska, and Lexington, Kentucky. Okay, interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
Here are the things that are crucial about the migrant asylum seekers that we need to put to rest, that people don't realize. Number one, I don't have the legal authority to stop the buses from coming in. That's against law. I don't have the authority to allow them to work, which they want to do. That's against the law. I don't have the authority to say I'm not going to house you and give you 3 meals a day. It's against the law for me to do it. I don't have the authority to deport someone that commits a crime here in this city and turn them over to ICE. That's against the law. So what we had to do was figure out, how do we house people? And so some people say, well, Eric, you're giving them more than what you're giving us. Go to the HERC centers where they are, the shelters. Their restrooms are outside. Their showers are outside. They're sleeping on cots. They get 3 basic meals a day. And when I go visit them, they say, we don't want any of this from you. All we want to do is have the right to work so we can provide for ourselves.
Well, in less than 30 days, migrants won't be allowed to work per federal guidelines, and they won't be allowed to be housed in NYC anymore. So where will they go after that?
They finding their way. Out of the 184,000, 60% of them found their way, like many of us have done. You notice you don't hear about the
where they gonna get housing in 30 days though?
Many of them we giving them intense care. We're not just telling you come here, hang out for 30 days, and we're not gonna help you. No, in those 30 days, and if you're a young person, you get 60 days. But in those 30 days or 60 days, we're giving you intense care. We're showing you how to find your way in our city. We're showing you how to go about applying for housing, how to go about applying for the services that you need. And some people are saying, we never wanted to come to New York at all. We wanted to come to another city. But Governor Abbott said, no, we're sending you to New York. Think about this for a moment. We got thousands of Ukrainian migrants. Thousands. Do you hear about them? No. They could work.
Just Mexican and Africans are the only ones
they could work. They have the right to work. So we wouldn't even be having this conversation if we gave them the authority to work. And you know the real irony of this? We need workers. I need lifeguards. I need food service workers. Many of these migrants from Venezuela are nurses and other professionals. I need people to be backstretch workers. Other states are telling me, Eric, we will take the migrants and asylum seekers if they just allow them to work. We're not going to take them and just have them sit around every day. If they're allowed to work, we would take them.
I agree with you.
The national government.
She agrees with you.
I agree with you that migrants should be.
She agrees with a lot of stuff.
No, I trust you that I do not believe.
She's on that train.
I'm sitting here, Mayor Adams.
She's gonna be dialing.
He's like, oh my god, this is so funny. This is so fucking funny.
First of all, I ride the subway every day. I've worked as a public.
I mean, like, somebody in the chat says he's making sense. Yeah, in this particular case, for sure. Like, it doesn't make sense that, migrants aren't allowed to work. That if they want to work, then absolutely they should be able to do so. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, they agree on that issue.
Public defender in this city and represented thousands of people. So please spare me. No, I'm not.
Do you think more police make people feel safe, especially black and brown people?
No, they don't.
No, black and brown people?
Yes, brother.
See, that's what I'm saying is like they don't feel safe in the presence of like, a big uptick in law enforcement presence. That doesn't make them feel safe.
I just had a town hall. I just had a town hall yesterday.
Like, obviously I'm not from New York, but like as somebody who grew up in some pretty rough neighborhoods, neighborhoods that were heavily populated by like, fellow Mexicans or like, black communities and stuff like that. As somebody who grew up in those type of neighborhoods, like we don't fucking feel safe when there's a bunch of like law enforcement hanging out all over the fucking place. That makes us feel the opposite of safe. So like, what's his source for this that people feel safer because of this?
Nice argument. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
All these black and brown folks inside that town hall, number one issue they came up with, we want to feel safer. We want more cops on our corners.
People want to feel safer. It doesn't mean they want more cops. And if they did, New York City has the most police in the country. We have the largest police department in the country. How many more police do you want, Mayor Adams?
You go do an analysis across this city and communities of color and ask them,
I live in Flatbush.
Do you want us to take your police away or do you want more police? I guarantee you would be lost to find someone in these communities of color.
What about when you add resources to that list? Do you want more resources to get to the root of these issues?
That's what people want.
Think about the resources.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about the resources we've done. Check out what we've done. Advocates, the far left, they have been calling for summer youth employment for years. We gave them 100,000. Never been done before in history. Never. They've been calling for investment in NYCHA. We put NYCHA as our top program. When I was during COVID, I was knocking on doors, handing out masks to NYCHA residents because the city refused to do so, and people were saying, "Why are you giving masks to those people?" When I was knock on the doors, I would ask the residents, "How your children doing in school?" They said, "Eric, we don't even have high-speed broadband." I said, "When I get elected, we're going to change that." Now NYCHA residents all have free high-speed broadband, so their children can have access like other children. We're doing the NYCHA Land Trust. No one was able to do it. We put more people in affordable housing using the voucher system than the history of the program. We've transitioned more people out of shelter into housing in 1 year in the history of the city. When I went to do an analysis with all of my gang members and I asked them the question, how many of you have learning disabilities? How many of you are dyslexic?
With all of your gang members?
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's what you decided to characterize them.
With people who
you kick it with the gangs.
Okay. No, I meet regularly.
Oh my gosh, she's so petty and it's funny.
People who
you met up with some drug dealers at Burger King.
Check this out. I'm glad you brought that up. Hold on, let me just finish this one piece because this is important. We noticed when we did the analysis across the country, not only in New York, across the country, 30 to 40% of the inmates in jail and in prison have a learning disability. So when I sat down with the chancellor, I said, "Listen, we can't wait until people until people break the law." We did dyslexia screening in our schools, and we were able to now catch it and give them the wraparound.
Yeah, give him something to drink. He's got that, like, how if you get super, super nervous, you get that dry mouth, like that cotton mouth type experience. He's oh my God, he's so horrified.
This is they need. So I want to talk about Burger King. So I'm sitting at home and I look in the paper, they say there's drug dealers selling drugs in front of Burger King. So I call up the precinct commander and I said, "What is this, man? We're not having open drug markets." He says, "Mayor, we did a complete operation, buy and bust, went to see, what drugs are they selling, who's selling drugs." He said, "These guys are not selling drugs. These guys are homeless, and they just come to feel as though they could be around others." So what I went on Sunday, I went down and did what other people don't do. I spoke with them. I said, "Brothers, can we sit down and talk? Let me find out how, what's going on in your lives." We sat in Burger King, had a conversation. Sharp brothers.
So they weren't even drug dealers?
No.
Okay.
They were not drug dealers. They were just homeless brothers that just wanted to be a place where people.
Evil Ink at the chat says, "I would be horrified too if I was with a bunch of leftists." The fuck you doing in my chat then, my guy? Why are you in my chat right now then, bro?
They could commune among others like other folks do when people have dog parks and people sit on the steps of a museum. And so we sat there and had a conversation and we were able to identify what services and what I learned from them. You could have all the services you want, but if people don't know the entry ramp to those services, then what good is it? So now we're going to devise a program that they're going to help me devise on how to reach out to those services. Then I want those brothers to become recruiters to go inside the shelters. But you're not going to do that if you are afraid to get on the ground and have these one-on-one conversation. I've been here, man. I know what it is to buy a nickel bag and make 8 joints so mommy can feed herself. I know what it is to run numbers.
Yeah, you
I know
just
what
lock
it
them
is
up.
to do all those things. So I'm comfortable among my folks. And the problem that a lot of people don't understand is they don't know how authentic I am about this work. But they're going to look back over it and say, we had a mayor that came from us and delivered for us. Even the billions of dollars that I'm putting into MWBEs that we've never had before. People are going to look back over these years and say, this brother was real about what he's doing because that's why I'm doing it.
I see you people wrapping up. I have 2 more questions. How do debit cards for migrants compare to New York City welfare benefits?
I like that. That's a good question because that was one of the biggest.
Sounds good, Jade. I mean, we welcome everyone here unless they're a troll or here to cause trouble, even if they're conservative or right-leaning. Yeah, exactly. People are always welcome to be in my chat. Obviously, like, I'm joking with Evil Ink in the chat. You're welcome to stay as long as you don't, you're not being rude to everybody or whatever. Like, you're totally welcome to stay. We don't expect everybody who comes into my chat to agree with everything that we, our views or whatever. So you're welcome to be here. But yeah, I just found it kind of funny that they're like, yeah, I would be afraid if I was surrounded by leftists. And it's like, well, you kind of are right now.
And I think the Daily News just did a piece today of saying why this makes sense. So here's what happened. we were paying people because by law we got to feed them 3 meals a day. We got to feed the migrants 3 meals a day. When I told the team we got to bring down the cost of this by 30% because it was costing us too much money, $12 billion over 3 years, $4 billion already. One of the places was food. We were seeing that we were having a 10% food waste. People were getting food that didn't want and they discarded. So my team came together, First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright, first black woman to be a first deputy mayor. She came up with a team called Mocafy, an MWE, black product. They said that we can give people food cards where they can only purchase food and baby supplies. You would save $600,000 a month in costs. People would buy the food that they want and not giving it to them from someone from some large conglomerate. Then they will have to spend the cards in the bodegas, the supermarkets, the local stores, so the money stays inside the community, and the program is run by a person of color. We're saving over $7 million a year. We have no more food waste because people are buying what they want. It's a black-owned company, so we put money back into a black businesses, like I said I was going to do. And you cannot buy anything but food or baby supplies. It's a complete win. Mm-hmm. But people heard it, and it was sensationalized. Oh, you're giving money to migrants. They only get $13 a day for those 3 meals. It's a winning program.
Olayemi, is it a win?
It's not that I have a problem with it. It's that, again, the sensationalism has a lot to do with the fact that you got up and declared that we have this migrant crisis. And I thought it was interesting, your earlier point about the difference between how Ukrainian migrants are being received versus migrants, black and Latino migrants, because, again...
It is interesting seeing him, complain about sensationalism when that's his biggest, Olay's biggest critique of him is that he sensationalizes things. And we've even seen examples of him, engaging in sensationalism as part of this conversation. So it's really funny to see him say that.
You gave a town hall where you were the one who gave this speech and you incentivized New Yorkers to feel this way.
Feel which way?
This feel like there is a migrant crisis where the migrants are being treated differently than them, where they're getting resources that the migrants are getting resources that are not being given to them because you were the one who presented it to the city that you had to cut budgets across because of the migrant crisis, even though recently you decided that you all actually do have the money to handle the migrant issue. That just wasn't publicized as much. No, so this goes back to my original discussion.
Sister, you're an attorney, and I'm amazed. I think your art is, I'm just going to throw it out there and make people feel
Mayor
that
Adams,
way
before you say it, there's an entire council
sister,
that knows you're lying.
We still don't have the money for the migrants. We're spending $12 billion in 3 years, $4 billion already. What I said to New Yorkers at that town hall, this issue will will destroy our city. This issue.
You called specific countries. I remember you calling the countries that the migrants were from. They weren't the Ukrainian migrants. You weren't talking about them.
So what happens when we don't have...
Hold on, sister. I did not call the countries what they were from. I went to the country.
It's on video,
I went to
Mayor
the country.
Adams.
I went to Ecuador, Colombia, Mexico to get a full understanding of the flow. I went to the southern border. Just as I went to those brothers in Burger King, I went to the southern border to understand the problem.
I remember you started that tour before you were going to go D.C. and when you were going to go to D.C. to talk to Joe Biden about the migrant crisis, but you were stopped because the FBI had to take your phones.
Good Lord, you just make up stuff.
Did I make that up? That's reported.
Sister,
the FBI didn't seize your phones?
Sister.
The FBI didn't seize your phones?
No. But
they didn't investigate your top aides. That's not happening.
What did you just say?
Mm-hmm.
You just
I said,
said,
I remember the tour that you went on when you were going to the border, when you were
and when
going
did I come
to DC
back?
to talk
I came back because somebody had to take my phone?
Because it stopped. I said, I remember on the day of, I remember it because it was
reported. You got amnesia.
Oh, me and the news. Me and the media.
No.
Your phones weren't seized.
Jeez, holy shit. She's grilling him so fucking hard.
This is important.
Okay.
This is important. I want you to understand. I want you to understand the hypocrisy of people.
He's getting so frustrated by her.
When the law enforcement does something every day, it's bad.
He's so flustered now. He's so fucking flustered.
But when they do something against Eric Adams, it's good. Come on,
I
let's
didn't say that. I said what happened. Okay. I didn't say that it was good. I don't think it's good that our mayor is being investigated for illegal campaigns. I don't think that's good.
I came back because of not that they had to take my phones. That is not true. And you should.
I
don't
said
know-
it happened that
I don't
day.
know. No, it did not happen that day.
I said it was reported before you were going
wasn't
that you were on
reported
your way
that
to
day.
Reported
Yes,
wrong
it
is what you're
was,
saying.
Mayor Adams.
It was reported wrong. is what
Where
you're
your phone? Did the FBI seize your phone? Did they
yes.
search your top aides?
Not that day.
Did they search the home of several
Yes.
people? Okay.
Yes.
That's what I said. And
Okay.
I didn't say that was a good thing. I don't think it's good that our
Okay,
mayor is being
there you go.
investigated by the
Okay, go ahead,
FBI.
Bob.
So,
Question
so
you
what
asked
happens when New York City doesn't have the money for migrants? And then,
great
the
question.
migrants are in this city, and they probably have to do
Again, trying to ignore. Look at him. He's so mad. He's so fucking mad.
most poor people.
He
have to
doesn't
do.
even want to look at her. So there was a tweet by the Humanist Report. Let me see if I could pull it up. I'll keep the video playing while I look for it. But like, it makes so much more sense now. The tweet. Let me see.
Which is sometimes resort to crime.
Right.
How is that going to make the city safe?
Right. And that's part of the problem. Imagine having a group of people 18 to 24 years old and it's being told you can't do anything all day. When you go to these hercs and you're seeing these young people, and I walk in and I talk with them.
I found the tweet. This is the tweet. Eric Adams trying to only look at Charlemagne so he can pretend like Ole wasn't in the room. So true. So fucking true. Oh my God.
Some of them come from West Africa, South
Mike is bass as fuck. Yeah, I like Mike. Mike's awesome.
America, Central America. All they're saying is, man, we just want to work. We don't want to sit around here all day and not do anything. That is why the real focus should be on our national government that's saying, why are you doing this to New York? Check out what they're doing. They're doing it to New York. They're doing it to Chicago. They're doing it to Los Angeles. They're doing it to Houston. What is the same in all those cities? All black mayors. All black mayors. And so what we're saying, same thing that I'm going through here, my brother Johnson is going through. My sister Bass is going through. My brother Turner is going through. So our folks, what they wanted to happen, Governor Abbott wanted to happen, we're going to turn these cities against their mayors. We're going to create this environment where they're all going to go against their mayors. Go Google what they're doing to my brother in Chicago.
This is he's just trying to sympathy bait now. They're turning the people against me. Oh, you poor guy. You poor fucking thing. He wants you to feel bad for him, chat.
You acting like a little bitch right now.
God.
Chicago. Go Google what they're doing to Sister Bass. So the cities have now turned against these black mayors that are making real change for the first time.
By over-policing black people.
And they're using this to say, okay, these black mayors are not competent. They can't run their cities. They're getting everything to the migrants and asylum seekers. This was a perfectly executed plan that we are buying into.
To make black mayors look bad across the country.
And when we're doing just the opposite. I inherited a city that was in disarray. Disarray. And you, no matter how much you do your analysis, you got to walk away with, this brother got more private sector jobs in the history of the city. We reached that point. This brother had his bond rating increase. 40% increase in crime when I came in. We're now dropped those crimes. 13,000 guns removed off our city. Outpacing the state in reading and writing for our children in the public school system. 62 million tourists are back here. More housing vouchers. You go down the list, invest in nature. You go down the list, you're seeing a brother that managed the city that people said was unmanageable, and we did it in 2 years and 3 months.
This is my last question. Do you believe the Biden administration's border policies have fueled the worst border crisis in U.S. history?
In New York, you said New York history or in
US
America,
history.
in America history?
I'll leave it at New York. New York history.
I think it definitely impacts us, but I think it's an accumulation of what the White House is failing to do and the Republican-led Congress is failing to do and other administrations. People don't want to deal with the fact that we need real immigration reform. Now, let me tell you what this should look like. Do you know right here in our country where we are decreasing in population in many cities, we're hurting for people in many cities. When people come across the border, the national government should say, You're going to go to this city where we need populations. Stay there for 3 years.
Somebody in the chat says dodged. Yeah, I mean, that's been what this whole conversation has been about, is just dodging and deflecting to just try and play. Like, he wants to be his own biggest cheerleader, essentially. Anything he can do to make himself look good, like, that's what this whole like game has been the whole time.
And then you could go anywhere you want in the country. We need to use this crisis as an opportunity. Our cities are hurting. In Kentucky, they're hurting for backstretch workers in the racing industry. We should be saying, you want to come here? You're going to go to Kentucky. You're going to stay for 3 years. You're going to learn how to be in the country and work. That's how we should do it. Instead of just saying, go wherever.
Oh my God, the Undead Collective in the chat says this man must be really good at dodgeball.
That is good. This is a win.
You want. And allowing this to be politicized by the governor of Texas and say we're gonna hurt Chicago, hurt New York, hurt Los Angeles, hurt Philadelphia. We just got a sister who's was the elected mayor. The day she was being sworn in, a plane of migrants were coming in.
Wow.
None was coming before.
Wow.
When no migrants was going to Los Angeles until Bass became mayor. When the first female black mayor became mayor, when she became mayor, they said, let's start sending them to Los Angeles. They playing us, man. They playing us. Wow. You know that?
I respect any elected official who can come have this conversation because these are the tough questions from your constituents.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. You know,
what can y'all do to work together?
we should.
Yeah.
Because no matter.
She seems like she's really excited to do that. Did you see that look she gave him? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know what's actually interesting? You said that because when I was in, I'm in rooms with folks. And I walk out of those rooms.
Hate
and I say, you know what? We both
thank you for that.
Disagree, but we both love the city and love our people. We have to separate the 10% of disagreement and focus on the 90% that we agree on. You agree that our children should be educated. You agree that our brothers, when they get out of Rikers, should come out better than what they went in. You agree that we should be saved. You agree that no mother should have to lose their child to over policing or to someone who is discharging a gun. We agree on many things. The 10% that we don't agree on, then listen, let's debate that. But there's 90% of the stuff. We agree that black women should be able to go through their school system and get into some of these employments, like first mayor in history that had 5 women deputy mayors. First mayor in history, Dominican, Filipino, African American, Trinidadian, first mayor in history that has a person of color, that's the police commissioner, correction commissioner. First mayor in history that have done so many things. I know retrospectively I'm going to be appreciated as a mayor that lived up to what I said I was going to do. I'm not going to do that now. People always...
He knows that his performance was so bad that now he's trying to bolster his resume to make himself look good at the end of it.
Crap on us when we in the ring. But when my gloves are hung up, people going to look at, listen, that was an authentic, bald-headed, earring-wearing brother that did his thing as the mayor of the city of New York. The most important city on the globe is being run by a person who was dyslexic, arrested, rejected, and now I'm elected to be the mayor of the city.
Well, there you have it. It's Mayor Eric Adams.
Olayemi Olurin.
It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up early in the morning.
Damn, that was pretty fucking awesome, not gonna lie. Round of applause to Olay. She grilled him so hard. So fucking hard. But before we wrap up the segment, I want to take a look at some of the aftermath of this. I did tell you guys to remember some things as we went along. Because we were talking about how the mayor would sensationalize things, and we have some sensationalism in the opposite direction now. We have Fox News reporting on this with the headline, Mayor Adams' Breakfast Club interview turns heated over slain NYPD officer. The far left disagrees with me. The interviewer claimed Adams had become a fearmonger on crime in New York City, to which Olay responds, first the Post, now Fox News. It's very telling that explicitly right-wing outlets are in Adams' camp. It says a lot about his policies, beliefs, and solidifies why New Yorkers are dissatisfied with his administration. We also have here, this is the New York Post one, Eric Adams clashes with woke defense lawyer who downplayed Officer Jonathan Diller's murder. She did not do that. Okay, we all just watched the interview. We all saw the conversation. She did not do that, and yet they're misrepresenting what she had to say there. We have the Humanist Report again. So fucking unhinged and unserious, harassing Olay now publicly. This is the official NYPD Chief of Patrol Twitter account. Literally, like, this is the kind of shit you see like internet trolls do, chat. When somebody's like bothering you in your Twitter mentions and you get blocked because you're annoyed by that shit, this is the kind of shit you see Twitter trolls do. Just what I thought. Meet me in, what is this? Mesa? I don't know how to pronounce that. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to say goodbye to a 31-year-old husband, father, son, and brother, a young man who was trying to protect New York City and uphold his oath he swore to. A man who fought to save his partners, the community of Far Rockaway, and ultimately gave his life for. The very man you dismissed today as his family, city, and country weep for. Let's talk. She didn't do that. She did not do that. She tried to bring it up and he shut the door on her. Exactly. Fucking exactly. And finally, I want to wrap it up with her tweet in response to that. Shout out to NYPD for doing this, because in the interview with Eric Adams, I said the NYPD uses their Twitter account to lie, harass, and sensationalize crime. Thank you for proving it. Oh shit! Oh shit! They did exactly what she said they do. So again, I want to give a round of applause, obviously, to Olay. That performance was incredible. And again, I do want to apologize to Olay. I know, like, you know, obviously I had very heated opinions when it came to the Illuminati situation and how poorly she had treated her previous associates. So I was a bit harsh on you at that time, but I do have to apologize because holy shit, your performance here was awesome. Okay, I completely misjudged you. Massive round of applause for Olay, and this was amazing.
Play that shit! Tipster! A good dude! Tipster!